What would the world look like if people felt like they mattered? Welcome to the Lead with Love podcast, exploring what it means to lead with love in business and life. I'm your host, Jada Selner, and in this show, I'll share meaningful conversations to help you, the creative, the entrepreneur, the world changer, reach more people, go after your dreams, and serve your community with love. I appreciate you joining me. Now let's get cozy and start today's episode. Do you ever catch yourself watching, wishing, and waiting on the sidelines to press play on a dream or idea that's been brewing in your heart? If that's you, then this episode is definitely for you, because what I've noticed with many of my clients that I coach and consult with is that they already have success in business. And they have this secret heart project on the side that they want to bring to the world. And in today's conversation, I get cozy with Lynnette Abbott, where we talk about creativity, trust, taking steps blindly, and making decisions from love, not fear. Now, Lynnette is the founder and designer of Craft My Occasion, which is a company that creates party supplies celebrating children of color. When you listen to the episode, you'll hear a very shocking number that Lynnette found when she was Googling party supplies. So definitely tune in to hear that. And what started as a party planning company turned into a purpose-driven company when Lynnette discovered that there was a huge disparity in the amount and variety of party supplies that feature characters of color. And as a creative, Lynnette was compelled to create more diversity for the party planning industry. And her specialty is not accepting the status quo. She loves to craft and spend time with her two children. So also just talking about navigating motherhood and health and business building. And Craft My Occasions party supplies raised more than $21,000 and was named a Project We Love by Kickstarter. And you'll hear something that I didn't even realize that I was actually a part of the catalyst. Like, I didn't remember that I was a part of the catalyst of this Kickstarter, which is amazing. And her party supplies have also been featured in the Huffington Post, Scary Mommy, Parents, Black Enterprise, and Pop Sugar. So you definitely want to get to learn more about Lynnette and just the beautiful work that she's putting out in the world to create more representation. So let's get cozy with Lynnette. Hi, Lynnette.
Hi, Jada.
I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. And I feel like I have to set the scene right now because we were just talking before and I was like, where are you? And you're like, I'm under a tree in a car, 89 degrees. And I just think that is just the embodiment of what motherhood and business looks like, is like, where's the quiet space? And it's in the car.
Yes, I'm in the car because I knew that I would not be able to have this intimate conversation with you without distractions and interruptions. Even if I tell my kids, hey, I'm going to be on a call, I need quiet. And like 5 minutes later, there's like a whole full out war going on downstairs, and playing and acting things out and screaming. So I'm like, you know what? In the car, that's where I'll be.
Yes. And I actually think, as I'm writing my book right now, I think car to me, it feels like this little cocoon of peace and quiet. And actually last night I got back from my hip line dance class, and my husband texted me because, I texted him I called him when I was leaving the dance studio. So he knows about how long it takes me to get home. But then I just sat in the car for another at least 20 minutes. But he texted me, he's like, where are you? And I'm like, I'm in the car downstairs. So I just think it's a great little retreat space where you just feel like you can be alone. It's quiet and I don't know. It's just this
yes.
warmth.
Absolutely. I agree. I do the same thing sometimes if I run an errand or go to the store. And, it usually takes a short period of time if I'm near the house. And when I get home, I'll just like pull in the driveway and sit there. And like after about 10 minutes, my kids will come outside and like, what are you doing? Just hanging out in the car. That's it. They're like,
Right.
what? Yeah. So I totally get that.
So let's talk about when we first connected, because I remember our first conversation, I believe, was you did the Build Your Challenge course and
Yes.
purchased kind of like the VIP strategy session with me. And I know that is when I fell in love with you and your brand and what you're doing with really, creating these party supplies that help celebrate children of color. And I'm just curious and now you're inside Love Over Metrics Incubator, which has just been an amazing journey to have you. But just curious from your end on like our first connection, or where did you discover me? Because I'm so curious. I know that we met
Oh,
in Build Your Challenge.
yes. Well, let me tell you, my first encounter with you is, and I know you didn't remember me because it was in a group setting, but I was taking a course called Elegant Excellence, and you were a guest speaker for one of the virtual retreats. And you just started talking, and I was like, I love her. I don't even remember what you said. And I was like, who is this lady? Where is she from? And I don't know if you mentioned it or the instructor said that you had lived on Kauai or were living on
Yeah.
Kauai. And as you know, Kauai is like my most favorite place in the world. So when they said that, I was like, oh yeah, that's my person. I need to figure out like who she is and how I can connect with her. So that's when I started doing research and I found out about your Build Your Challenge course. So our first conversation was definitely a part of the course, but my first encounter with you was introduction from somebody else. But there were a lot of panelists, but you were the only one that I was attracted to.
Oh, that's awesome. So my curiosity for you is, what was the first dollar you made as an entrepreneur?
That's a great question. I'm trying to remember now because without even acknowledging it, just realizing it now as an adult, I feel like I've been an entrepreneur forever since I was a child. But it just, came to my realization having conversation with family and friends, and they're like, "Yeah, but you've always been like that," and I'm like, "Have I?" But okay, so maybe high school, I would say, if I could go back that far. So I went to high school in Miami. That's where I was born and raised. And I went to William H. Turner Technical Arts High School, which is a long name. We just call it Turner Tech for short. And the different thing about this high school is that they had academies. So there was a health academy and a Fannie Mae academy. And I was in the agriculture academy because I am a lover of animals and I wanted to be a veterinarian since I was a little girl. So I chose the agriculture academy. And a part of that was that you actually have animals, farm animals that you take care of. So my first animal, I believe, was a rabbit freshman year. And then sophomore year, I got pig. Like you get a baby pig and you raise them, you do everything. It's like your child. Had to go to stay after school to take care of the pig. Had to catch the bus to school on the weekends to take care of the pig. So then I had to sell my pig at the fair, which was heartbreaking, but I actually made money. So I would say that was my first introduction. And it's funny because, the whole year you're like feeding the pig and giving the pig medicine and all these things to take care of the pig. And then my teacher comes at the end of the year when I sell my pig and go, hey, here's your bill. So you owe me money for food and medicine and housing. And I'm like, oh, so all this money isn't mine. So yeah, I think that was probably my first lesson when I officially became an entrepreneur was in high school. That's about as far back as I can remember.
Yeah. And, I always love to ask this question is, what does leading with love mean to you? And how do you put love into practice in your business?
That's a great question too. So leading with love for me is very simple. It's basically what it says, lead with love. And the way that I do that in my business and in my life in general is I treat people the way I want to be treated. And specifically with my family and friends, I'm always trying my best to come from a loving place when I'm spending time with them or when we're having conversations. And I often ask myself if I am being my best self in relationships with people, including my family and my friends. And how can I be a better friend or a better mother or a better wife? So I'm constantly making self-assessments to ensure that I'm always coming from a place of love and that my heart is open and it's just, good vibes all the time. And I also apply that to my business. I created party supplies celebrating children of color, and that basically came from a place of love because I wanted to have things that my children could look at and identify with and feel proud about. And I wanted them to embrace themselves and promote self-love. So I feel like all children deserve that. And I decided to just expand it beyond my children instead of just like, oh, I want this for my children. I want this for all children. So it's all about my intentions and ensuring that I come from a loving place at all times. And I often do a lot of self-reflection and assessment to ensure that I stay in line with that.
That's so powerful and beautiful. The piece about self-love, that is a representation of what your business is now. And I'm curious if there was a specific moment that inspired you to build this product-based business and selling party supplies that represent children of color.
There actually was. This has, it's been brewing because I was a party planner previously and I encountered, moms and just family members who we all voice this, like, how frustrating it is to find things and we have to basically create everything from scratch. But that was always a discussion, but I had never taken it a step further to say to myself, why don't you just make it? But what happened was around 2015, 2016, I had the party planning business and I also had an event hall where people could come to have celebrations. And I was also working a full-time job and I was still a mom of two, still a wife. So a lot was going on and I was incredibly stressed out, sleeping almost never. And there was stress and strain on my marriage and, my kids, like, why we never see you, why you're never home? Because even when I'm not working my 9 to 5, I'm working on something else. So I came to a point where my health was the issue because I got my second diagnosis for breast cancer around that time. And so I just shut everything down completely. I was like, this is a wrap. Now it's all about me and everything has to be on pause. At that point, I wasn't ready to let Craft My Occasion go completely, but I was willing to. But I was just trying to get quiet and figure out what my next steps were. So the whole time throughout my treatment and my self-reflection, I kept asking, what can I do to continue to be creative, but not stress myself out? Like, I need to be creative because it feeds my soul. So that's why it was so hard for me to just shut down Craft My Occasion completely. But I feel like I still want to do something that I love. And I was specifically asking, like, how do I merge my love for parties and my love for my people? Because those are two things that I'm very passionate about. And so I spent a lot of time and I kept asking that question and meditating on it. And literally one day after meditation, I jumped up and I was like, I'm going to make my own party supplies. And my husband was like, what? And so I tried to explain to him. He's like, you can't do that. I'm like, don't worry about it. I have to show you, because he didn't quite understand what I was trying to say. So I would say that was probably the pivotal point of me saying, you know what, I'm just going to do it instead of like just talking about it or complaining about it. Let's just do it.
Yeah. I love how you bridge, the love for your people and the love for party supplies and just creatively expressing yourself. And also just how you pause, like, stop the presses, everything's got to stop. And I've just got to go in and like focus on me and what I need in this season of, the breast cancer diagnosis, like all of these different pieces, family, marriage, business, like you were juggling not just like a 9 to 5, but your side hustle. Like there was just so many moving pieces. And then you created, the inner peace to just like pause everything and get quiet and clear. And I think that is such a huge act of bravery and self-love to really pause and reflect.
Yes, it was. Right now, thinking about it, it seems crazy, but I felt like that's the only thing I could do at that point. I was like, everything stops, literally. And that was hard for me because I am a giver by nature. So I give and I give and I give, and I don't ask for anything in return. So at this point, it was about me just stopping and receiving, like receiving all the love I need, all the time I need. So that was hard, but I just knew that it had to be done. And in those moments of me just saying, you know what, I'm not going to be the perfect mom. And I'm not, at my job, I was a supervisor. I had stopped working. I took a leave of absence. And I was like, yeah, it's just going to be all about me. And I had to learn how to put myself first, like literally ask myself, what do I need right now? Whether that's sleep, whether that's food, just take a nap, anything, simple things that I totally ignored before. I had to learn how to really listen to myself and my body and take stock of what was going on and just pause and be like, yeah, it's my time now. So that was a huge, I'm grateful that my business was birthed out of this, or this portion of my business, but I feel like that was my biggest lesson because I still carry that with me today.
Yeah. And was there any hesitation or challenges with your husband being on board with this? Because I'm sure that at this moment, he's like wanting to protect you and make sure that you're healthy and well and all of these pieces. So what challenges have you had to kind of overcome to move through going after this heart project, this passion project?
It was definitely challenging because he wanted me to cut everything off completely. He was like, no more work, no more Krav Maga, like no more nothing. And I told him, I can't make that decision right now. It was something I was considering, but I needed more time. I felt like that was a knee-jerk reaction, and those are not always the best reactions. So I had to explain to him, like, I'm very open, and I'm not saying what you're saying is not doable, but I just need time. So he was okay with that because he saw that I was putting myself first and doing things for me first. And that made him happy because, of course, I wasn't doing that before and he wanted me to be well. So that was fine. And then when I explained to him I tried to explain the concept of the party supplies, which he didn't quite get at first. But once we got deeper into it, he was more open and he was asking me questions like, how much work is this? Because he knows. He was very involved when we had the event space because he was working full time as well and still spending nights and weekends there with me. So we were both fully invested in that business. So he was like, how much work is this? What do I have to do?
Right.
I was like, no, it's totally different. It's not that stressful, and it's this way and that. He's like, so our measurement is always like from our previous business, like, is this much work? No. Okay, we can handle it. That made him happy that it wasn't as stressful. It didn't require as much time and man hours as the previous business. And we really eased into it. So the part about the biggest challenge was getting him to buy into another business. But the fact that we had something to compare it to, and I reassured him that it wouldn't look anything like that, he was okay with it. But like I said, we did ease into it. We had to because, first of all, I didn't know what I was doing. And I felt like that was the best way to just ease into it and feel our way through the process.
Yeah. And I would love to get to kind of like the startup of the product-based piece of the business. Like, so, you've had business before and now you're moving into the party supply space. Can you take me through the startup energy of like basically selling these products for the first time because you didn't know what you were doing? So what did you do?
Well, I had a phone call with you and I said, I have this idea. And you were like, oh my God, this is great. And I told you that I didn't really know how to put it out there. Like I had already started like making designs and drawings and, requesting samples, but I was like, I don't know how to get that out there. You said you should do a Kickstarter. And I'm like, really? And you were like, yeah, you should do a Kickstarter. So I was like, okay. From that phone call, I started doing research on, I knew of Kickstarter, but I didn't know all of the low down dirty details. So I started doing my research on Kickstarter and I'm like, okay, yeah, this feels good. I think this is definitely what I should do because of course, I have Facebook and I have social media, but me just like posting a plate going, hey, I have plates now, that didn't feel like the right thing to do.
Right.
So yeah, so I researched the Kickstarter process and what made all great Kickstarters successful, and I started like getting those details in place and getting the video and so all of the moving parts that go into a Kickstarter. But yeah, that was how I decided to present my idea to the world, and I was lucky that it was funded because it actually paid for my first design, which was the mermaid. So
And it's so interesting because I know we just had that one conversation and I'm like, it feels crazy to me because I'm like, oh no, I'm not a part of like the beginning of it. Like, I don't know why for me, I'm like, oh, it's already been going. I, for some reason, totally forgot that was like the Kickstarter.
The Kickstarter, yeah.
Yeah. So that's just amazing. And just seeing you taking action and presenting your idea to the world just on like one conversation. Because to me, I'm like, oh, it's been going and all of these pieces, it was just getting started. So what was your Kickstarter goal? How did you come up with that number? And then what did you actually get?
My goal was $20,000, and I came up with that number because I basically added up all the expenses that were involved in getting the products printed, getting them shipped, the graphic designer, the importation fees, how much I had to pay for my marketing video, the video production, because there was like a whole production crew there. So I added up all the expenses of the actual products and how much it cost me to market the Kickstarter itself. And I ended up making $21,667. And we actually reached our goal before the end of the Kickstarter, which was very exciting because I was nervous and excited, nerve-sighted, like you say, because the end of my Kickstarter was like aligned with was it Hurricane Irma? Like the monster hurricane that was coming towards Florida 2017. Mm-hmm. So my Kickstarter was due to end like that last week of the hurricane. So of course the hurricane was hogging all of the attention, and I'm not trying to be insensitive. I know that it was a crazy storm because we spent like 18 hours on the road driving to Atlanta to evacuate. So I was nervous because I'm like, nobody cares about my Kickstarter. There's like a massive hurricane coming. But I just like pressed forward and I still reached my goal. So that was pretty amazing to see people still show up and support us, when all of that was going on. And a lot of people were making donations to the Red Cross and other organizations for other areas who have been impacted by the hurricane. So yeah, that was pretty awesome.
How did that feel for you? Like, what were the feelings going on inside? What were you saying to yourself to hit and surpass your Kickstarter goal?
Up until the hurricane situation, I knew for sure I was going to reach my goal. And I don't know how I knew that. I just had an inner knowing of like, yeah, this is needed. People love it and I'm going to reach my goal. Like there was no other option. So to me, it was like every single day, like, what can I do today to get closer to my goal? I didn't even know, honestly, until after I reached my goal and people started reaching out to me saying, how did you do that? That was amazing. Like most people who do a Kickstarter campaign the first time don't reach their goal. And I was like, really? I didn't even know that. It never occurred to me that I wasn't going to reach my goal. And I just did what I felt needed to be done. Like, what do I need to do today? At the time, to reach my goal. And I didn't have I did have a production team to shoot the video, but I didn't have like a marketing team or anything. So everything else I was doing myself as far as marketing the campaign and the products. So a lot of people ask, did you have PR? Did you have this? No, I didn't have any of that. It was just me. And I'm not a trained marketer, but there was just no other option. It's like, yeah, we're going to reach the goal. So what do we need to do today to get closer? Like every single day, how are we, and as long as we were moving forward every day, I was happy.
Yeah. What were some of the strategies that you implemented? I know you were kind of like just figuring it out as you went along, but now looking back, what were some of the things that you felt you did really supported the campaign?
Well, to be honest, I did what comes natural to me, and that's planning a party. So I said, we need to have a mermaid party. Like, why not? And that's the perfect way to showcase the products. And actually, the products that are in the video for the mermaid party are samples. I didn't even have like the real product yet. So I decided to get a video done because in my research, I found out that all of the top grossing Kickstarter campaigns had like amazing videos. So I was like, okay, I'm not good at video, so I need to hire somebody to help me do this. So I hired a company to help me shoot the video. And I told them, like, listen, I want to have a party because that's what I'm good at. I'm good at styling parties. But in the party, I want to evoke the feeling of the girls seeing these party products. So in the video, I have my daughter and her two little cousins. My daughter had seen it. However, her two little cousins had not. So I really wanted to capture like how they felt seeing it for the first time and what it meant to them. And, the first reaction they got from interacting with the party supplies. So of course they were like, oh, the mermaid, and she's so cute. And they had a great time at the party, but like talking to them, and these are like 5 and 6 year olds, and saying, hey, you like the party? Yes. What do you like about it? Why do you like it? And when they were interviewed, and they all said, she looks just like me. Like, that's the standard answer. She looks like me. So I think that what I did the best was just lean into what I'm good at. And I feel like a party clearly is party supplies, and a party captures the emotion of what you're celebrating. And then now there's another layer because the mermaid looks like me. So that was really like my number one thing. We need to have a party. It needs to be really cute. The girls gotta look cute. And I want to see the joy, in their faces, in their interactions when we have our mermaid party and they interact with the actual product. So that was like the center of my goal for the party and the marketing video. But outside of that, I didn't have any like strategy as far as, how many people would see it or how will I get the most eyes on it. I just really wanted it to be about the emotion of the party and it not just being like, oh, it's a plate or it's a cup. So,
yeah. Which I think is such, a love over metrics way of putting work out there in the world, is like truly leading with love of like the joy, the celebration, the party, the connection between your daughter and her cousins, and just really focusing on that instead of like, how many eyeballs, how many people, like, and getting caught up in that, because it takes us away from the heart of why we're doing it in the first place. And I know Mermaids was the first line that you put out. Is that correct?
Yes.
Why did you choose Mermaids?
For a couple different reasons. Mermaid parties are extremely popular among little girls. It's been that way for, I would say, the past 2 to 3 years. I feel like they've always been popular, but like really popular. And so there have been a couple mermaid parties in my family. And of course, I'm usually a part of that because I'm like the party girl. There's a couple of the party planners in the family, but so I'm usually involved. If I'm not throwing the party, I'm involved somehow. And in that process, it was always like, we need a brown mermaid. Like that was always a topic of discussion. And we're like looking everywhere and there was no brown mermaid. So one of my cousins actually found like a digital image of a mermaid that she liked, and she sent it to me, and I changed her skin brown. And that's what we used for the party. So I changed it brown in Photoshop. So that's why I picked mermaids, because I know it was a really popular party theme among little girls, but also because they're like 0 mermaids with brown skin, that you can find anywhere actually, but especially party supplies, because I literally Google mermaid party supplies and there are over 1 million results on Google for mermaid party supplies, and none of them are brown, like zero. Well, I'm hoping one now.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So,
And I know you mentioned, that there's been a lot of like frustrating conversations, behind the scenes of not feeling represented, not seeing something that looks like me. Can you remember a specific conversation, whether it was with one of your children or one of your clients, really taking me back to a specific conversation in that moment of frustration?
yes. Yeah, it was again like the conversation about the mermaid party, decorations in general. And one of my moms was just saying, it's ridiculous that we can't find anything that even resembles our children or ourselves. There, it just doesn't exist. And, no matter where you search, and when you're in the party community, we all kind of shop in the same stores and the same online store. So we kind of know what's out there for the most part. So even if I haven't been to a place where I talked to somebody else and like, yeah, I went there too, and they didn't have it. So it was very obvious to a lot of people of color that in the party industry. And the conversation was always like, this is ridiculous. And I don't understand why we can't just have like, can we just get one brown mermaid? Like, why is that so hard? And I felt like, it just speaks to how we wonder why our kids grow up that have issues about self-image, about, why is my skin not lighter, or why are my eyes not this color, or my hair doesn't look like this, because they are constantly bombarded with this image of somebody else that doesn't look like them. So they're like, well, I want to look like, everybody else, because apparently this is how everybody else looks, because this is the only option. So I want to change my appearance so I can look like what I see all the time. So that's a frustration that a lot of moms have. Moms have told me that their daughter have asked them, can I lighten my skin? Because that's what they see all the time. So I was like, this is like a huge problem. It's not that it's anything wrong with their skin. They just feel like they don't belong because they can't identify with anything. And so it was really important for me to provide a mermaid with brown skin and also with a big afro, because
Yes.
you never see like a mermaid with kinky hair. And I've seen some mermaids now that they might be a little tan, but the hair is still straight and flowy, and it may even be blonde. I'm just like, no, because that's not who we are, and that's not what we identify with. So let's give our children something that they can immediately say, oh, she looks like me. Oh, her hair is black like mine, or her hair looks like mine. My daughter says that all the time. Her hair looks like my hair. So I think it's so important to let them have that, because it does have an impact on them subconsciously that we may not see immediately, but then it manifests to other things later.
Yeah. And I know you also have this superhero line, and the female superhero has 2 afro puffs, which I just
Yes.
love so much. I'm like, yes.
All about the afro puff. Yes.
Yes. And there's
Yeah.
a recent photo that you've posted on your Instagram at Craft My Occasion, and it is your, I believe it's your daughter, right? With hands spread out, a beautiful, like a mermaid gown, or I'm not sure if that is your daughter or not, but there's someone.
No, that's one of my customers actually.
Okay, yeah, which is like head, like arms spread out wide, crown on head, just so fully expressed and excited and in celebratory mode. And I'm just curious, like, how does it feel for you to have your clients and their children to feel that joyous and happy celebrating their birthday to your children? Like, what does that feel like for you?
That is actually the best part of my business, because, it's really easy to get caught up in the day-to-day things of like, oh, I have to post on social media today. I have to send an email. I have to do this. I have to do that. And then the day goes by and I don't even know what I did because it went by so quickly and I don't feel fulfilled. I know I did a lot of things and I checked off a lot of boxes, and that's great because I like to check boxes, but I'm still like, what was today about? And then I get an email or somebody tags me on social media of their child having a birthday party. And I'm just like, oh, now I remember. Like, this is amazing. And it makes me so happy. And I always tell them, thank you so much. You literally made my day, because that's like, when I see that, I feel like I was at the party with them. And that is the most amazing feeling. And even sometimes if I don't get pictures, moms will email me and say, this was amazing and my daughter loved it. And all the moms wanted to know where I got it from. And it was incredible. One mom actually emailed me and she said she bought the place for herself. And she had like some social or moms type of group at her home. So she used the plates to serve the dessert. And she said that they were so in love with the plates that they refused to put cake on the plate. And they were like, I'm taking this home as a souvenir. Like, you better not mess up my plate. And I was like, that is, so she was telling me, like, it's not even little girls. Like, your party supplies are for girls of all ages, because they're always like, why wasn't this around when I was a little girl? Like, what's happening? So those things like just really fill me up and make my heart so happy. And I'm like, yeah, this is why you're doing this. This is exactly why you're doing this.
Yeah. And when you think about, like, I keep hearing you say, like, I'm the party planner, and I know you're all about like celebrating life and birthdays. And I'm just curious, where does that passion for celebrating parties come from for you?
This is something that I have had ever since I was a little girl. And I have never had a birthday party in my life. I don't even think I had a party. Well, I've thrown parties for other people, but that doesn't count. I've never had a birthday party because my parents just were not able to give me a party. They were in survival mode. So, it was about, food, shelter, and clothing, and party was real extra. So nobody was getting that. So I always felt so excited and happy on my birthday. This is without a party. This is me even knowing I'm not getting a party. I'm like, it's my birthday. Like, this is special. And it was always like a big day for me. And I always felt happy and proud and so excited about my birthday. And I always wanted a party. I just knew that it wasn't going to happen, as a child, but I didn't care. I was like, it's my birthday. And I was always happy about it. And I remember in fifth grade, my fifth grade teacher gave us an assignment to write an essay about our favorite holiday. So I wrote an essay about my birthday, and the whole thing was about how amazing my birthday is, but I never had a birthday party, but it doesn't matter because my birthday's still amazing. And she thought that essay was the best thing. And she actually asked my mom permission to take me out for my birthday. So for my birthday that year, I think that was my 10th birthday, she took me and my best friend. She allowed me to bring one friend to Bennigan's restaurant. That was my first time going to a restaurant and celebrating my birthday. So she asked my mom permission to celebrate my birthday. And I thought that was the most amazing thing. We went to Bennigan's, we ate dinner. Then, they come out singing the happy birthday song with the little cake. It was amazing. And like ever since then, I was like, yeah, my birthday is the bomb. So I just remember how I felt also when she took me out and how special that was. Like, even as an adult, I really realized how special that was when I was only 10 years old, and giving me permission to be like, yes, this is my day. It's a special day. It should be celebrated. And it's just really important to me in general to celebrate life because, we all go through our daily routines and we do the work and the school and the homework and the bills. And sometimes I think we forget to be grateful that we're living and we're alive. So celebrating life to me is not just about birthdays, and it doesn't have to be a party, but just remembering to celebrate the fact that you're here and you're alive and you're well. So I believe that's where I got it from. It was something that was ingrained in me from birth, I believe, but just, things that happened to me throughout my life that kind of affirmed how important it is to really celebrate life and birthday, because it's not only about, oh, it's my birthday, but the fact that I've actually been here for another year and I'm still here. So that's really important to me.
Yeah. And I was reading a post from you and it said, celebrate your life, big or small, birthday or not. It doesn't matter. Laugh out loud, toss the confetti, eat all the cake, and give thanks for the life in your body.
Yes.
And I really, really feel that from you. And I'm curious if there are any traditions or things that you've created within your own family now with birthdays for your children. Like, so do birthday parties seem a lot different than what you grew up in? And what does that look like today?
Yes, birthday parties have evolved dramatically since I was a child. Yes, they have definitely evolved. Birthdays are a huge deal in my house because it's my house. But yeah, birthdays are a big deal. So my kids are like literally planning their birthday from the last birthday. They're like, yeah, we're at the birthday party. And they're like, yeah, next year. And I'm like, dude, can we get through this party first, please? But birthdays are a big deal. My kids get that energy from me, and we always celebrate their birthdays. And I am a little bit, I don't know what the word is, anal, I guess, because sometimes we'll have the birthday, right? So we're having a party on Saturday, but birthday is on Tuesday. I'm like, no, we got to celebrate on Tuesday because that's the real birthday. So it's like, we'll get a cake or whatever. And my kids are very involved, so I let them choose. Like my daughter, when she was younger, you couldn't even pay her to eat cake. So we got like her a fruit cake and just a bunch of fruit in a bowl, basically. And we have to sing happy birthday on the birthday, and there must be candles and there must be gifts exchanged because that's just how I am. And then we'll have the party like on a Saturday or Sunday when it's more convenient for family and friends to join us. So there's always a celebration for birthdays. There's always a celebration for, graduation or any other milestone that happens, in life in general. So I'm huge on birthdays. My husband is the total opposite. Like, he's like, I don't want to do anything for my birthday. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to do, it's taken me a while to just like let that be him, because I would be like, okay, and like secretly planning this huge surprise party for him. And he's like, no, I don't want a party. You're not listening. And then the party is really for me because I'm the party girl. But yeah, so we do have traditions every year. We're having birthday, and whether that's cake or whatever the kids choose. And sometimes they choose simple stuff like, oh, I just want to go to Sky Zone for my birthday. And I'm like, that's it?
Right.
You don't want to have a party? Like, no. So it's me also learning to like let them celebrate in their own way, but there will be a celebration of some sort happening that we can all like agree on.
Yeah,
So.
I love that. And it's so true. I believe Zoe had 3 birthdays at Chuck E. Cheese, and I'm like anti, like, that pizza is cardboard, it's not healthy. But she just loved going to the tickets and the tokens and all of that. And so yeah, you kind of have to like lean into that. And I remember growing up, my family, we would wake up like when it was still dark outside. So the birthday person would be sleeping, and then you would get like a cupcake or an actual cake with the candle, and like that was the first thing that you saw waking up, was like your family greeting you with a happy birthday song. So I think it's really beautiful to just kind of connect to, well, how did we celebrate in our own childhood, and like what does that look like today in our lives and with our own children, and just seeing how those traditions evolve and change and shift based on the humans that are engaging with the party. So I think that is really, really cool. And I won't go too deep into this now because I feel like you did a interview conversation with Claudia Cometa of the Minding Wellness podcast, who is a fellow Lomi from Love Over Metrics, talking about thriving with cancer. And I listened to that conversation, and it was so beautiful and so pure. And it was all about trusting your intuition, allowing your body to heal naturally, and giving yourself time and space to figure out what feels best for you. Like, those were some of the big takeaways that I got from that conversation. And I'm just curious if you've observed similar lessons to your healing journey that you've applied to your business journey.
Absolutely. This journey that I've been on with my healing has caused me to open my eyes to so many things in my life. So it has, healing from breast cancer, but also healing from, traumas in life in general that happened to me previously or recently, and also in my business. So I say this all the time because I'm like, it's all connected, because I give myself space and time to figure out my healing journey. So I need to also give myself space and time to figure out my business journey. And a lot of my healing journey is about trust and surrender and allowing. That's like the core of my journey, like always going back to those things whenever I feel like I'm not grounded. So why don't I have the same, perspective for my business? Why is it so hard for me to trust? And why is it so hard for me to surrender? And why is it so hard for me to allow the journey to unfold? That's a huge lesson that I've had, that I've actually started learning recently, how it connects to my business. And it's been a game changer for me personally, because it applies across the board. And instead of worrying about, like you said, the metrics, like I need to do this, I need to be hitting this mark, I need to be getting this many sales. If I'm not doing this, I'm not successful. If I don't have this, or if it doesn't look this way, I'm not as successful as this one or that one, or where I thought I would be right now, which are all true for me. However, how come I'm not giving myself space? Why am I not giving my business space to breathe and grow? And there are lessons that I need to learn in the process that's going to take me to the next level, whatever that level may be. Because even what I've learned in my healing journey is, I think I know what the next level is, but I really have no idea. And it looks nothing like what I thought it was, or even what I wanted it to be. So just allow and let the process unfold, and trust that you're always on the journey. Like you're never not on your journey. You're always on your journey. And you just really literally have to surrender and trust that whatever is revealed to you will be revealed to you at the perfect time. And you will know what you need to know when you get there, and you will do what needs to be done at that time.
I love that. And I'm curious when did you start to see the parallels, and that it's all interconnected, to start to give yourself that space and time and trust and allowing and surrender in your business?
I would say around maybe the end of last year, there were a lot of things that were happening in my personal life. And also that I had recently joined Love Over Metrics, and just, meeting you in person and the other ladies that are a part of our group, and just seeing the parts of business that we usually don't see, and the vulnerability of, the actual person that's running the business, who's also a mom and, also a wife, and still has a fierce desire to change the world, and who also has a huge heart and is an amazing woman alone, absent of, the titles of wife and mom, and all of the trials and tribulations that everybody has gone through, that were a part of their personal life, that also impacted their business, or just the business. It just opened my eyes a lot to know that, first of all, it's not just me, right? So I'm always like, what am I doing wrong? And why am I not, at this level? And why am I not making this much money? It's not about me. It's about the journey. So that made me realize, I'm not the only person that's, facing challenges in my business. I'm not the only person that gets frustrated or depleted, exhausted. Not the only person that say, I quit. I never really quit my business, but sometimes I quit my business,
Right.
it's not over, but it's over right now because I need a break, So just knowing that like that's normal. Like so many other entrepreneurs go through that too. So, but instead of just thinking like, oh, it's just me. So that's when I realized there's not like a one single thing that I can do that's going to make my business a $1 billion business. There's not one single post. There's not one single marketing campaign. There's not one customer. It's an accumulation of all of my love and all of my energy over time, all of my lessons learned. I have to give my business space and time to grow into that. So that was really the starting point for me with my business and looking at it in a different perspective, because I feel like, oh, I'm going to buy this course or do this. And when I'm done with this course, I am going to be like on it. And then I take the course and I'm like, they told me some stuff I didn't know, but most of that stuff I knew already. So, at the end of the day, there's not one single course. It's just not one single thing that's going to get you there. And just like I said, meeting with you ladies and developing a community and sharing like real stories, getting to like real vulnerability and just being wide open, then that allowed me to see myself in them. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense, So that was the turning point for me, and seeing my business in a different light and how I should approach it. And so now it's just like so many things happen. Like so many things happen in my personal life, and I'm literally like, oh, how can I apply this to my business? So, yeah.
Oh, I love that. And one thing that I want to share before we start to wrap up is, I know we have the Kauai connection. We also have a Miami connection because I actually went to middle school in Coconut Grove, and then I was in Coral Springs. I've been all over the place. And then yes. But then, I lived in Kauai for a couple of years, and that's where I started my first brick and mortar business. And my mom and my bonus dad and my little brother still live out there. But you just purchased a dream home in Kauai. And I'm so excited. And just the power of being so intentional and clear on what you want and creating that vision. And I'm just curious, like, how did this become a reality for you?
Oh, wow. Okay. So I always say everything is connected because it is. So when I got my breast cancer diagnosis in 2015, I had decided the theme of my life was no more wishing and waiting, right? I'm like, I'm done. I'm going to live my life now. Like whatever I want to do, that's what I'm doing. So I had been wanting to go back to Hawaii for many years. My husband and I got married on Oahu in 2009. And we had a beautiful beach ceremony, and 10 of our family members joined us there. So we got married. They were there with us, and we shared our honeymoon. So we've been talking about going back to Hawaii ever since then, constantly. When are we going back? When are we going back? And life just gets in the way. We didn't make any plans. So I told my husband, listen, when my treatment is over, we're going to Hawaii. And he's like, okay, whatever you want. He's not arguing with me at this point. Yeah. So, and I'm literally I always say this, I don't know when, I don't know how, but we're going. So we decided to go to Hawaii. So my cousin and I were planning the trip because she's a super duper travel planner. And so she's like, what island do you want to go to? I'm like, well, I don't really want to go to Oahu because we've been there and I actually loved it, but it was really crowded. It reminded me of Miami, just really dense with people. So I was like, let's try, somewhere else. So I literally randomly picked Kauai because it's just at the Garden Isle. And I'm like, that sounds pretty. Let's go to Kauai. So they're like, okay, let's go. So my husband and I went with the kids and my mom. And then my cousin joined us because she's my best friend. And she's also queen of travel. So she's like, I'm not missing this. So we all went to Kauai together. And that was in 2016. And I was there for about 24 hours. And I was absolutely in love. Literally, I told my husband, I want to live here. And he's like, no, you don't. And I'm like, yeah, I actually do. And he's like, you're just on what did he say? You're on a vacation high. You're just on vacation and you just think oh, this is great. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. And I told him, I feel a spiritual connection to this island. I feel like it has healing energy. And he was like, okay, because my husband thinks I'm crazy. He says it all the time, but that's fine. I take that as a compliment. So he's like, okay, crazy lady. That's how he brushes me off. I'm like, okay, no worries. So we have our vacation. It's amazing, like such an amazing vacation. And we come back and I'm thinking like, how in the world can we move to Hawaii? Literally trying to figure this out in my head. But I keep saying like, we're going to Hawaii. And I'm telling my friends, I'm telling my family, like I went there, I loved it, I'm going to live there. So I started looking for jobs. And it's not many jobs on Kauai. And my husband's like, he's a police officer. He's like, I am not going somewhere else to start over because, all the time he had in wouldn't count. He would have to start off as a rookie. And I said, you know what? I respect that. I don't want to make you do that. So we'll figure out another way. So he said, the only way I'm moving to Kauai is if I retire. Okay. So I'm still like trying to figure this out. So then in the meantime, here comes Craft My Occasion, right? And I do the launch for the party supplies. It's amazing. I'm like, dude, Craft My Occasion is going to retire us and we are moving to Kauai. And he's like, okay. Like he always just brushes me off because I'm like a huge visionary and he's not. He's like Mr. Realist. So he knows that like my head is in the clouds and he's like, whatever I see in front of me, that's what he's focused on. So I promised myself that until I move to Kauai, I'm going to go back every year to visit. And again, it's always like, I don't know how, I don't know when, but it's going to happen. So fast forward to 2017, my cousin had her baby and she was on maternity leave. And she said she felt like she needed to go to Kauai to heal after having a baby. And she wanted to do that before returning to work. So I was so jealous. And I was like, I can't believe you're going to Kauai without me. Oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. So she kept saying like, oh, you could come. And I'm like, no, I can't. And she's like, you could just crash on my couch, And I'm like, nah, it's okay. I'm good. I went to sleep one night. Like this is when like they're planning their trip. And I had a dream that I was on Kauai. I had purchased a house and I walked through the front door with my keys and I was bawling in the house by myself. And when I woke up, I was crying. Like I had real tears in my eyes. And my husband was like, what's up? And I told him about the dream and he was like, you need to go to Kauai. I'm like, dude, stop playing with me. He was like, isn't Keisha going? Like, I'm going to pay for your plane ticket. Go sleep on her couch. Like, go. He literally told me, go look for houses. And I'm like, stop playing with me because he already knows how I am. I'm like, dude, don't play with me because And he's like, nope, you need to go. So he bought my plane ticket. I went and crashed on her couch. I found a real estate agent. Actually, she found a real estate agent for me because my cousin sent me a blog post about how to move to Kauai or something like that she found because I talked about it all the time. She sent me the blog post and the person who had written the blog post was a real estate agent. So I reached out to her, to the real estate agent. So I went there by myself. This is like with no kids and no husband. So I was like beside myself. And I crashed on my cousin's couch and I met the realtor and we were like riding around looking for houses. And I told her like, I don't know when. I literally told her this, I don't know when, but I'm moving here. And she's like, okay, let's look. Let's explore the neighborhoods. Let's see where you want to live, what you like. So this is in 2017. Okay. Now, fast forward to 2018. So I went, I looked at the houses and, me and her kept in contact via email back and forth. And so that was that. So I'm still saying I'm moving to Hawaii. So by now, all of my kids are saying we're moving to Hawaii. My mom went to find us a house in Hawaii. We're going to get a house. My mom, who lives with us, like, we're moving to Hawaii. Now my husband's even saying it because he sees how serious I am. So, and people like, when you moving? I don't know. At some point we're going to move. And my husband was saying like, oh, when I retire 6 or 7 years. I was like, nah, I'm thinking more like 3 to 6 years because I want to raise my kids there. And I'm like, by then they'll be like grown, So 2018 came around and same thing happened. I was diagnosed with breast cancer a third time. And that was probably the worst and so stressful on me and my family and everybody. So I told my husband after all that, I feel like we need a vacation. And he was like, let me guess. I'm like, yeah. So we went to Kauai third time, 2018 for vacation. So now I told my real estate I was going to be there. And she's like, okay, are we going to look for houses? So I'm like, ugh, my husband's going to be with me. I don't know if he's going to want to look for houses, right? So I said, hey, babe, the realtor was like, you want to look at houses, maybe one or two, because he doesn't even like going with me to the mall. So I know shopping for a house is like out of the question. But he's like, oh, come on, let's go look. And I'm like, you serious? And he's like, yeah, let's go look. Okay, cool. So we looked for houses, and we wouldn't look like 3 houses that we like, but he wasn't sold on them because he likes new houses. That's not really a thing on Kauai. So he's like, oh, we're going to have to fix this, fix that, whatever. Again, now we're just looking. Because at first I was like, oh, I'm not even going to look. I don't want to like mess up the vacation for everybody. But then I was like, why would I not look? If I said I want a house, like I need to look. And my real estate agent was down. So she had sent me, we looked at a couple houses. It was like, he wasn't really impressed. So he was leaving. We were there for 2 weeks, but he was only there for 1 week. He had to come back to work. So we were taking him to the airport. And my realtor called me and she's like, I sent you a new list of houses. And one of them on there is a new house that she had told me. And I said, yeah, I saw that. Because, my husband likes new houses. And I said, I saw that. And I had seen this development popping up because I get email alerts about houses in Kauai, by the way. So I saw the development pop up. I got an email about it. But I read that was a disclosure that it was only for Kauai residents. So I was like, oh, we don't qualify because we're not Kauai residents. So when she told me that, I said, yeah, I saw that house, but I thought we didn't qualify for that because we're not residents. She was like, well, let me check. So she called the listing agent. They talked and she was like, actually, that was for like a 6-month period. And that period just expired and they have one house available. So if you want to see it. And I'm like, ah. So literally we're on the way to the airport. And I told my husband, like, it's a house. It's near the airport. It's new. You want to go see it? He's like, okay. So we went to see the house. We actually saw the model because the actual house was still under construction. I fell in love. My kids were like running around picking out their room. This is our house. And my mom picked out her room and I'm like, oh boy. So like the whole time I've been saying, we're moving to Kauai, but like I said, I didn't know when or how. So we went through the process and they were like, do you want to put a contract on the house? And I was like, okay. So now my husband's looking at me like, this lady is crazy. So he's nervous because in his mind, he's like, how are we going to pay for this? And because I was at the point now where I retired I put in for early retirement from my job and it had been approved, but it's with the government. It takes a really long time. So I still didn't even know how much my pension would be. I had an idea, but I wasn't sure. So he was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I have to do it. Like I told him I can't tell the universe over and over again that I want a house in Kauai and then it shows me a house in Kauai and then I go, I was just kidding. I was like, I can't do that, So he was like, okay, I'm just going to trust you. So then he said to me, are you doing this because you said you are moving to Hawaii? I said, no, this is happening because I said we're moving to Hawaii. I was like, you cannot ignore all of the things that literally lined up for us to see this house, for us to be here together at the same time. And it was literally like, oh, it just came available this week. And do you want to put a contract on it? Because it was like the only one. And that's the one we fell in love with. And that's the one that was available. And it was in our price range. So he's basically like, how are we going to afford this? And I'm telling him like, oh, my retirement's not final yet, but this and that. So he's like, I'm just going to trust you. And I'm like, okay. But he was still very skeptical. So I told him, I'm going to meditate on it and I'm going to make sure that this is what we're supposed to be doing. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I did. And I was like, this is it. Like, I can't, like the minute I walked into the house, it was like, this is your house, period. Like before I signed any papers or anything. And I was like, I can't ignore that. I just cannot. And I told him I didn't get where I am today in my life by making decisions based on fear. I just can't move like that. I can't. So I have to proceed. So we proceeded with the process, all the paperwork, and literally like everything fell into place. Like my pension came through like right before we got approved for the loan. So it was like, oh, okay, your income is great. And like everything happened. Like I did all this stuff without even knowing about the money or anything. I was just like, and the reason why, and then my retirement got approved. So I had access to the retirement money so that I could put a down payment on the house. It was like literally magic. I can't even explain it. Like every step I was taking blindly, but I just knew in my heart that like, this is it. I can't ignore it. So he's like, okay, well, we can get the house now and we'll figure out, you know, because now he wants to retire. So we'll figure out, you know, when we're actually going to make a full-time move there. But at least we have the house now. So yeah, that's basically how it happened. But it was just, 3 years in the making of me just saying like, oh, we're going to move there. We're going to move there. And I think back to 2003, when my husband and I were just dating for like a couple years, and we took our first trip together. And that was his and I first international trip and our first trip to an island. We went to Barbados. And I fell in love with that place. It was so beautiful. And it was so many Black and brown people. I was like, yes, I love it. Like all of it. So I told my husband, like, I was like, do you think you could live here? And he's like, maybe, I don't know. And I said, one day I'm going to retire and move to an island. That was in 2003. And I'm like, you remember when I said that? And he's like, yep, I remember. We had a whole discussion about it. And I even said, I don't know what island, but I want to live on an island. So yeah.
That's beautiful.
That is a short story.
I just really love you leaning into no more wishing and waiting. And this is what celebrating life now looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, really powerful. And I feel like you are a visionary, like you are clear in what you want and then get out of the way and just trust and allow and surrender. And I see that in action in every piece of your work and your life that you are creating. And it's like one big party, your life that you're curating and planning and allowing that joy to exude. And I'm just curious if there's anything else that you'd like to share before we say goodbye.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I think we covered pretty much everything. This has been such an amazing discussion. Thank you, Jada. I love you so much. And I've been like secretly stalking you for years. But I'm so glad that we finally got a chance to connect through the Build Over Challenge course. And then even so much more so in Love Over Metrics. I'm so grateful for you and all the love and light that you bring to the world. And your podcast is like the only one that I binge listen to. So when you asked me to be on the podcast, I'm like, what? Yes! So thank you.
Well, I love you so much too. And thank you so much for just being such a stand. Like I really believe in what you're doing with Craft My Occasion. And for those who are like, yes, that is my child or that is me, even if you're an adult and have a party of just to see that representation in the world of things that look like you. And I believe that you are painting possibility for so many more so that it's not a million search views of zero, that we have one, but like I have this vision that you are going to multiply and amplify the faces and voices that deserve to be heard and seen. So thank you for your work, Lynnette.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed Lynette's journey as much as I did. In this episode, we mentioned the Build Your Challenge course that Lynnette joined before launching her $21,000 Kickstarter campaign. And you can get the 5-step roadmap for free at buildyourchallenge.com. And to learn more about the Love Over Metrics incubator that Lynnette has been a part of and is still a part of, make sure you're on the wait list over at loveovermetrics.com. And of course, the Lead with Love podcast is currently self-sponsored and ad-free. And one thing that I love is hearing from you. It truly makes my day. So as you're listening, take a screenshot, share your favorite takeaway, and tag me on Instagram and Facebook at Jada Selner. And if you want to make sure you never miss an episode, make sure you subscribe and leave an honest review. And you can always get the links and resources that we mention in each episode over at jadaselner.com/lead with love. And my intention is that you build a sustainable business that does not compromise your health and relationships. We have to sustain you, the leader who is putting more love into the world through your work, through your service. And so that is truly my intention. Have a beautiful day. Thank you so much for your heart and attention in listening to Lead with Love. If this message, leading with love in life and business, and remembering the humans and beating hearts behind the numbers and all of that good stuff, I would love for you to take the time to leave an honest review. It would mean the world to me, and it also helps more people find out about the goodness and helping spreading more love in the world, which we really, really need. So I would really appreciate that, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.